welcome to You Beautiful Creation. I'm Tina Jackson, and with me today I have a very special guest, Jennifer Jury, and she is with LifeWise Academy. Welcome, Jennifer. I am so delighted to have you today.
Thank you, Tina. I'm really happy to be here today.
Yes, I was online at Facebook and I saw that there was one of my friends posted this LifeWise Academy, and what it is public school system kids get Bible education. They get transported off the premises to a place to have a class on the education in the Bible. And I was so happy to see that it can be done during school hours. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to Joel, who the founder who got that up and rolling, right?
That's right. Yeah. So lots of people involved in it, but in 2018 is really when it kind of all came together and got off the ground as LifeWise Academy.
That's wonderful. Well, I tell you what, you have so much you can share with us, and I'm going to give you the platform for the next 25 minutes, 27 minutes or so. And so, Jennifer, please take it away and share with us all that you have to offer about LifeWise Academy. Educate us.
Thank you, Tina. I think even before I start explaining what LifeWise is and how it works, it might be helpful just to mention for a minute, why do we even have a program like LifeWise here in the United States? And I think it's no surprise to most of us if you are paying attention to the news and to the climate around our schools and around our young people today in our country, that we are experiencing an all-time high among our youth of things like anxiety and depression, and unfortunately, even suicide. And we're seeing a rise in these things even amongst some of our youngest students. Whereas you may used to hear just about anxiety and depression being something that was experienced by teenagers and young adults. Now, even elementary and middle school students, if you talk to them, a large number of students will describe themselves as feeling anxious or worried or even depressed. And so, unfortunately, as we're seeing those kinds of things on the rise in the mental health of our young people, we're also experiencing an all-time low across the country of students who attend church every week, or who read the Bible, or whose families are part of a faith community of almost any kind. And so I think those of us who are Christians, who are followers of Christ, understand that this is really a true correlation, that as students are being more and more removed from Bible experiences and faith experiences, it makes sense that their anxiety and their loss of a sense of community and security also grows. So that's where a program like LifeWise steps in. LifeWise Academy exists to offer Bible education to public school students during school hours, as you said. And almost always the first thing that people say when they hear about that is, how is that possible? How is that even legal? And so I just would love to explain for a minute how LifeWise works and how we make sure that we also, of course, keep it legal and do things correctly. So something like LifeWise has existed for decades all across the country. There are many communities actually already who have folks that teach the Bible to public school students even during the school day, and many people are aware of after school programs that exist, like Fellowship of Christian Athletes or Young Life, where organizations and communities come together after school or before school. But there are even these during school hours programs that have existed for decades. And those exist under something called release time religious instruction. And this is something that is a Supreme Court protected right for parents to educate their students as they see fit in religion, even if it needs to take place during the school day. Back in 1952, the Supreme Court upheld this basic parents' right in a Supreme Court case called Zorak versus Clausen. And basically that just was a specific example, but the Supreme Court recognized the fact that for many parents in our country, religious education is an important part of their family's life. And sometimes it just needs to happen during the daytime. And so that Supreme Court upheld the right for release time religious instruction. And that basically means that as long as 3 factors take place, parents can excuse their students from school during the school day for religious instruction. So number 1, the religious instruction needs to take place off school property, recognizing that at the moment our public schools have designed a secular day and a secular atmosphere for students. Therefore, religious activity needs to take place off school property when it's not student initiated. Secondly, those programs have to be privately funded. Of course, no taxpayer or educational dollars can be spent on religious programming. And then third, of course, we have to have the parents' permission. Parents need to opt in and enroll their students in some type of religious instruction. It's not automatic. It's not something that all students are forced to participate in. It's entirely optional by the parents' permission. So as long as religious instruction is off school property, privately funded, and permitted by the parents, then programs like LifeWise are perfectly allowed to operate within the school day. So back in 2018, a group of parents in Northern Ohio heard about this opportunity. I think even though this has existed for decades across the country, a lot of families and communities just don't even realize that they can do this. And so this group of parents, actually years before LifeWise existed, had come together when they found out that release time was legal. And a group of parents had just started a Bible education program for their own students, and it grew like wildfire in their community. Other parents heard about what they were doing, and they got so excited about it that they started to sign their kids up. And pretty soon, it was a huge percentage, like 75% of the kids at that elementary school were leaving school once a week, just a quick Bible instruction class at a nearby location, and then they would go back to school and resume their classes. And it was working so well and so seamlessly in their school day that it just really changed the climate of that school. Students' attitudes were improving, their friendships and relationships with each other were improving, and the families just loved what was happening. And so it was just a few years ago that Joel Penton, whom you mentioned, this was his hometown, and he heard about what was happening there. And he and some others basically asked the question, why isn't every community in America doing this? If it's legal, and if it's so popular with so many families who want this type of religious instruction for their kids, why isn't everyone doing this? And really the answer to that question is that there are just so many barriers to get something like that started. From a grassroots perspective, you need to figure out what curriculum are you going to use, and how are you going to schedule that with your local school? How are you going to make sure the kids are safe and take care of things like insurance liability? And how will you find volunteers and make sure they're properly vetted? And there's just so many steps to getting something like that started carefully and doing it well. And so they asked the question, what if we could remove some of those barriers to entry so that communities could do this more easily if they want to? And that's where LifeWise was created. And so if you think of it almost like a franchise, LifeWise has just created a replicable model that's very plug and play so that local communities can take kind of this in the box program and plug it in and put it into use in their own community if that's what they'd like to do. So today, just a few years later, there are more than 40,000 students this year in LifeWise classes across the country. We have LifeWise classes going on in 26 states, and 5 more states are in the process of starting LifeWise programs in their community. So that means that students right now in more than 500 schools are attending LifeWise every week, and we expect that number to grow to 600 schools by the end of this school year. Just this week, in the last week, more than 300 students have enrolled in LifeWise classes across.
Fantastic.
So it's just something that's growing so rapidly. And I think that's why suddenly there's a lot of attention on LifeWise and programs that are similar to it. Because again, these have existed for decades and people have been doing this for a long time. But I think just suddenly this awareness has grown that this is something that can happen. So even though in the United States right now, 8 out of 10 kids don't go to church every Sunday, 9 out of 10 students go to public school every day. And so if we aren't seeing those students and their families come to church where they can grow in their faith and learn about the gospel, then it just makes sense that we can provide those opportunities for those kids during their school day if that's something their parents choose. Now, there's been some questions about LifeWise because all of a sudden it has grown in, awareness, and a lot of attention has come to LifeWise in the last few months because it has grown so rapidly. But it is our LifeWise pledge that everything we do centers around the gospel, but also with a focus on students' character growth. And this is where this is such a valuable resource for local public school communities, because schools, again, across the country are just facing this epidemic of a need in students' mental health. And just meeting that need takes so much extra time and many resources that many public schools are, just feeling that their hands are tied to try to teach all of the academic subjects and then also meet the kids' mental health needs at the same time during the day. So LifeWise comes alongside local schools as a supportive ally in that fight for our students, public school students' mental health and character development. So every LifeWise lesson is gospel focused. It just focuses on the main stories and doctrines of the Bible. These are things that many different churches across the Christian community agree on. We try to keep the main things of the Bible, the main things of our lessons. And so then every week as they learn their gospel lesson from the Bible, there's also a character quality that we focus on. So whether it's respect or kindness or honesty or compassion, there is a character quality that the students are encouraged to take home and put into practice at home, at school, and in their community. So that is where we're seeing really kids' lives are being changed, and then their families and schools and communities are being influenced as they're taking those things home and putting those into practice.
So how many days a week are they going to these Bible classes?
In most cases, students attend once a week. There are some variables, that come into play just depending on each school's individual schedule. Every local LifeWise program works with the local school in order to schedule it at a time that makes the most sense for those students.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like for the elementary school, so would it be like on a gym day, or like how would they pick when they can leave the school?
That's a great question. So according to release time policies, students will not miss core education classes to attend religious instruction. So in many cases, especially for elementary students, they might attend once a week during their lunch and recess. So they take their lunch with them and go to their LifeWise class and then come back at the end of recess, and they haven't missed any instructional time. There are some other school districts where they're able to work this into a regular specials rotation. So if they have some type of a character education class built into their schedule, parents might opt into LifeWise instead of to the regular school character education curriculum. Or if students have a study hall or a free period, especially in middle school and high school, that's where they will work that into the schedule. So it's a great flexible thing that can be done in conjunction with the local schools' policies and scheduling to make that work the best for every school.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So it's been exciting to see LifeWise grow so quickly. I think, like I had started to say earlier, with any rapid growth, sometimes there comes some questions, even some opposition to a program like LifeWise. So a few misunderstandings and misconceptions about LifeWise that you might hear in the media if you look this up or watch the news. A lot of parents seem to misunderstand that LifeWise is something that is kind of foisted upon their local school students, and that parents might be concerned that if they don't want their child participating in a Christian education program like LifeWise, they might have concerns that their student is going to be exposed to Bible education when they don't want that. And that is absolutely not the case. The only LifeWise classes that exist are those that parents choose. And so LifeWise programs don't even get started in a community unless it's the community that wants a LifeWise program. This is a very community-driven program. And so communities come together and say, yeah, we want a Bible education program for our students. The community then reaches out to LifeWise to say, how do we get a program started here for our students? And then they work with LifeWise to get that program started. And then the only students that attend LifeWise are those that have been opted in by their parents and enrolled. So since it's entirely optional, if parents for some reason prefer that their students don't attend, then they certainly won't see their kids going to a LifeWise class that's entirely optional. Some other questions have been raised about the content of LifeWise. And as I said earlier, our content focuses on the Bible and the gospel and character. And it's modeled on the Gospel Project curriculum, which is something that's widely used by many churches and Sunday school programs. But it's a great program that takes the students over the course of 5 years in elementary school from Genesis to Revelation and introduces them to all the major stories and themes of the Bible, which is very valuable just to give them that big overview so that they can start to understand what is the Bible all about and how does that relate to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so when they're starting the program, like, or let me first ask this, how do you get the program started in your community? Like, what does it take to have this happen?
Yes. So if any parents or community members are interested in seeing a LifeWise program for their students in their community, the easiest thing is probably to go to our website. If they go to lifewise.org, there is a button right at the top of the page that says Find My School. And if you click on that button, you can see, does your community actually have a LifeWise program either already live or in the process of getting started? And if not, then there will be a button there that says, get started. And so when they click that getting started button to bring LifeWise to their community, there are just 10 very simple steps that the community will follow to gather interest and make sure there are enough people in the community that want to see a LifeWise program started, and then how to go from there as far as assembling a local team, making sure that they have the resources and a host location to host the classes. Since everything needs to take place off school campus, in many cases, a local church that's nearby to the school will offer their facilities to host classes. Sometimes other, buildings are used, like a local community center or some type of a rentable facility will be used in order to host classes. So all of those steps are outlined there on the website, and there is a LifeWise support center team that then comes alongside the community and helps them walk through those steps and makes sure that they have everything that they need in order to get their program started.
Oh, that's fantastic. I am so excited. I know I went to a LifeWise presentation, and I was just so excited to see that, what it takes 50 signatures to get it up and rolling. And so you can get things going. Now, can you tell me a little bit more about the curriculum? Like I heard that, they start the moment they get on the bus. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because, you don't want to waste any time. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So the LifeWise teachers and volunteers are very well trained to manage their time well, and also are experienced teachers who have great classroom management skills and are used to working with students. So they understand that every moment is valuable, even those transition times from classroom to the bus and back to school. So whether they're riding a LifeWise bus or whether they're walking next door to a nearby building, you're absolutely right. Sometimes the minute the students walk out the door of their local school, that's really when their LifeWise time begins. And so they might begin by reviewing something they learned from the week before, or introducing the character quality that they're going to be learning about this week. And so they're already engaging them from the moment they walk out the door. And LifeWise classes are very engaging. We understand that students' attention is limited, especially the younger students. And in many cases, as I said, they might be attending during their lunch and recess time. So it's important for the kids to have a good time and to get up and move around and be actively engaged. It helps them retain what they're learning and also just makes the classes very fun. So most of the students that I've met, they'll say things to me like, oh, I wish I could go to LifeWise every day, or LifeWise is my favorite day of the week. And the kids just love it. And I think beyond the fact that the classes are fun, what we're seeing is that students are finding a very safe community in LifeWise, whether it's because there are like-minded students there who believe the same thing that they do or not. They're meeting trusted, caring adults who are speaking kindly and with loving intentions into their life, who are encouraging them. The students are learning how to pray together and to pray for each other and to pray for the things that are on their hearts and minds. Any of us who have kids in our lives know the kids have big questions and they have big things that weigh on their minds. And really, the public school day is not the place to get those questions answered. And so when they're sitting in math class or science class or history at school, these questions might be swirling in their mind as they're learning things, but there's not always an environment where they can talk about those things or talk about their faith during the public school day. And so coming to LifeWise gives them a little respite from that secular environment for a few minutes where they can come and talk about their faith, ask their questions about God, learn what the Bible says about it, and then interact with peers in a way that is safe and comfortable. And so that's another thing that LifeWise students tell us all the time, is that LifeWise feels safe and that they love coming because they have friends there and a sense of community there. And again, with students' mental health issues today, that is one of the major things that we're seeing, is that students, of course, need that sense of community and safe space where they can talk about these big ideas.
That's wonderful. And obviously you do background checks on those people working with the kids.
Yes, LifeWise is so concerned with the safety and well-being of students. And so every single person that works with LifeWise undergoes a very rigorous background check. They're very carefully vetted. All of the teachers that work with students are expected to have teaching experience and background. And then we take an additional time of training to make sure they understand how to use and implement the curriculum that we have, as well as how to manage the classroom well. And as we said, how to manage all those transition times. Also, how to work with a team of volunteers. There are always 3 or more adults in every classroom. So those volunteers are vital to making sure that the students are having a great experience. They assist the teachers, they assist the students all throughout the lesson time, and also help with chaperoning the students to and from the classrooms and making sure that everyone is safe and well cared for the whole time that they're with us.
That's awesome. And so are there paid positions, or are they just volunteer positions? Like, how does that all work?
Yes, it's a mixture. Usually LifeWise program directors and then staff members such as teachers and vehicle drivers are often paid. And then there's a whole army of volunteers that comes alongside in order to help support those teachers. But since we have professional requirements of our staff, we feel it's important to pay them so that that reflects well the professional expectations that we have of them. And it's a commitment. You know, it takes a lot of time and energy to run any kind of a classroom. And so we want to honor that commitment that our staff members are making as well.
And obviously with a volunteer, I mean, you don't have to volunteer every day of the week, do you? Or how does that work for volunteers?
That's right. It's very flexible. A lot of our volunteers will either volunteer because they are retired, or there may be parents that have some flexibility in their schedule. We love it when parents and grandparents are our volunteers. We have a lot of retired teachers or school folks that come and work for LifeWise. Folks who have done children's ministry in churches are also another large pool of where our teachers and volunteers come from. So there's just such a great variety of ways for people to get involved, either in the classroom or behind the scenes. There's so many things that it takes to make a program successful. So again, if anyone is interested in joining their local program or helping to get one started, if you go to the website, there's some clear tabs across the top where you can get your questions answered, and also click buttons that say things like join the team to find out how you can volunteer or teach or become involved with LifeWise.
That's wonderful. And how much does it cost for the kids? There should be some kind of fee. I mean, if you're paying the teachers and the bus drivers, or is this all by donation?
That is a great question. There is absolutely no cost for students to attend. And so that is, again, why it's so valuable as a resource to public school communities, because there are so many activities that students can participate in, but sometimes because it requires an extra financial commitment or time commitment from parents and families, some students may not be able to participate. But at LifeWise, there's no cost to the families. All of the fundraising that comes in, all of the cost that is required in order to make things run, is all from private donations or from churches that support local programs. So it's all entirely supported by fundraising efforts.
I'm so excited that you're getting a chance to share this with everyone, and to inspire them to want to partake in this. This is an exciting venture. Amen. So yes. Is there anything else that you can share with us about the program? I mean, is there a way that we can see the curriculum?
Yes. And that, of course, as a parent or an educator, that's a logical question. So again, if you go to lifewise.org, there is a tab there that answers questions about the curriculum. Like I said, it's based off the Gospel Project curriculum, but it's a LifeWise branded version of that. And so for that reason, in order to see the full curriculum, there is a temporary access where you can log in, just create a login. Since it's copyright protected, we can't just, put the whole curriculum freely on our website. No one can do that. And so for that reason, but parents can log in and see that, read through the lessons if they'd like, and see the scope and sequence of what's being taught. And we welcome that. And any questions that folks have, there are some buttons there on the website where they can contact LifeWise for more information about any of those things.
Oh, that's wonderful. I know that you have your YouTube channel as well, and they have tons of videos out there that explain step by step and what it's about. There's long versions, there's shorter versions, and it's very informative. So I encourage you to go to their YouTube channel as well. All right, very good. So Jennifer, there is I know here in Michigan, there's at least 3 counties that are up and running, and they're trying to get the 4th one, Livingston County, up and going. Do you happen to know if there's like any more going on behind the scenes that we need to know?
Yes, I know. I looked that up as well. And like you said, there are 3 schools that are actively running in Michigan right now, and several more that are in the process. I think the one you mentioned is pretty close to getting started, but there are several others all across the state that are somewhere in that process of gathering information and putting together their team and working with their local schools to get that scheduled. In the state of Michigan, there is a state law that supports the right for parents to offer this type of religious instruction to their students if they so choose. And so that makes it a little more simple for local programs to get started. The schools, in most cases, can just work directly with those who are getting the program started, and that makes it a lot more simple.
That's fantastic. And so I just want to take this moment just to encourage you, if you are feeling a prompting from the Lord and the excitement to seeing that the public school kids can get Bible education during school hours, I really would like you to just take this, take a moment, pray to the Lord, ask him, what can I do? Am I a financial giver? Can I just give some finances? Because I'm sure there's cost for insurances, so the buses, the curriculum, the website. There's so many finances and fees that are happening behind the scenes that could need, have your donations to help support this ministry. It's a wonderful ministry until we can someday get the Bible back into the schools. This is a beautiful bridge to that time period until that happens. And I would encourage you to ask the Lord, am I the financial donor? Am I a volunteer? Am I called back into the teaching and to be a teacher for this? And, even if it's just 1 or 2 days that you have, LifeWise can utilize you for just those 1-2 days. They'll plug you in and get you up and running. And it's exciting. I'm so excited, Jennifer. I'm thankful that you've had this opportunity to come share with us and to share about the LifeWise Academy. Yes.
Thank you. I'm so excited to see what will happen there in Michigan. Like I said, it's growing so quickly. I have no doubt there will be many more folks that are excited to see this for their local students there in your state.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, go to their website, check it out, see what you what the Lord puts on your heart to get activated in or to be a donor. And I want to thank you so much for joining us again, Jennifer, for today. This has been just an honor and a privilege to have this moment with you. And I'm Tina Jackson, and that's Jennifer Jury. And don't forget that you are a beautiful creation in Christ Jesus. Thanks for joining us.